there?
I'm here. Hi, Johanna.
Hi, Bonnie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good. Well, my name is Bunny, like you said. I just want to tell you a little bit about my blog before I go into it. It's called The Bunny Hole. I know it's a little provocative name, but it's not really anything provocative. And I try to focus mostly on positive vibes. It's a lot of negativity. It's a lot of gossip out there. And I try to stay away from that because there's not enough of a platform for the positive environment. It's enough negativity. So everything I may ask you is all it's all positive and all it's all good. It's nothing negative, no bad vibes or anything like that. And if it's anything you feel uncomfortable, you definitely don't have to answer. You're not obligated to answer anything. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. And I just want to congratulate you, first of all, on bringing up Ballers. I love the show. I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, you're very welcome. It's something that's new. It's exciting. It's different. It shows, that environment in a different light. When you think of Chicago, you think of all the stuff that's going on, and you don't really tend to see what the people in Chicago are doing that's positive. Um, as far as that's concerned, what are some of the things that encourage you? Was it something that was it a casting for it, or was it something that was brought to you, or was it something that you came up with, like, hey, this is something that we need to focus on?
Well, I think a few of the girls felt as though, what we go through just in day-to-day life, being mothers of basketball players, we figured we needed cameras rolling. So it actually started a couple of other girls that aren't on the show. They were trying to pitch a different mother program, so to speak, and somehow we just took it and ran with it as basketball mothers. So that's kind of how it came about.
That's good. That's something, like I said, it's good. I've been to Chicago quite a few times. My husband actually was speaking about, possibly getting an apartment down there, and I'm like, I don't know. It's a different community. We're in Michigan, so it's a different community than what we're used to here. What is it like actually living there? Like being able to raise a son in that environment? I know it's pretty bad here sometimes, but I know that recently in Chicago, like the crime rate has just skyrocketed. How difficult is it raising a child in that situation? I know it can't be easy. It's not easy being a parent, regardless. But I feel like in certain situations. Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Knock on wood, I haven't had to experience anything too crazy or too detrimental. I've worked very hard to make sure we've lived in a healthy and safe environment in Chicago. I mean, granted, crime can happen anywhere, but we live downtown, and my son goes to a magnet school in Chicago, so he goes to a Blue Ribbon school, so it's a phenomenal school. So most of the kids there are there for their education and, work extremely hard. So his environment for most of his day is really, really nice. And then when he comes home, he's in a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
And gym to gym, there are some gyms that are a little rougher, depending on what areas we go into. But for the most part, he's been fortunate, and we've been fortunate to be in pretty safe environments.
That's good. That's good. It's definitely.
It is Chicago, though.
Right. It's still Chicago. Yeah, that's good. It's like I said, it's hard being a parent. So I know sometimes it's hard to shield your children from certain situations that may come across. Even certain situations where you don't have any control over, like as far as like schooling, inside of school, peer pressure and things like that. But I congratulate you. I take my hat off.
Oh, well, thank you. I think as parents, though, I think when, we pass the buck and say things we can't control, I actually think we can control a lot of that. It's just how much are we willing to pay attention to and control. Again, I worked very, very hard to be in an area in town that, that warrants a safer environment. And it's, my hat goes off to, the parents that maybe cannot afford to do that or are not able to provide that, because it is, look, it's scary. So, but no, I think, I've like I said, I've worked very hard so he can be in environments where he can just go to school and focus on education and go into a basketball gym and focus on, being the best athlete he can be. So I think I've worked pretty hard. I think, again, it's those parents' choices that we choose to make for our children.
Yes, definitely, definitely. A part of my blog, what I like to do is I like to bring awareness to things that a lot of people may not pay attention to. A young lady I interviewed a couple of weeks ago brought attention to lupus. There's something that in the Black community is something that not a lot of people talk about, as well as mental illness and things like that. Is there anything that you maybe would like to bring attention to, or something that you think needs more attention brought to, as far as like just within the community, outside of the community, just anything basically that you feel doesn't get enough attention that you would like to bring attention to?
Yeah, I think many of us suffer from it. It's called excuses. I mean, at the end of the day, we can have a bunch of things in life, but when we start making excuses for our actions and excuses for our behavior, and really not fighting hard to make the changes ourselves and add positivity to the community. I add positivity. I provide a basketball camp, and we not only sponsor 5 kids, but we also provide jobs for high school children to give back as well. So I think it's the excuses, and I think that's becoming the larger disease of our community as a whole. And just in general, I mean, I think, the more we make excuses for our actions and excuses for our behavior, the more it becomes acceptable and more of it, becomes I'm concerned, a mental illness. I think if we just pay attention to, our role and the product that we're putting out into the world, children are a reflection of us. And I think that, the more that we teach them good, just yesterday I was in a gym and a gentleman came up to me and said, my son is not nearly as skilled and as talented as your son. He said that the most beautiful thing about him is his humility. And, he's just a kind kid. And, that's like magic and music to my ears, because I think at the end of the day, the harder we try to be better parents and think about what we're putting into the world, the better we become. Fortunately, I haven't had to experience, mental illness, directly around me, or lupus, or some of the other things you mentioned. But I just think that if we all do that, I think the mental illness can change. I think that the health can change if we start caring about each other as a human race.
I definitely agree with that. I actually love that. I've never, that's actually the first time someone has actually mentioned that as being something that needs to be addressed, which, when you say it like that, it kind of brings it to your attention, like, oh, you know what? A lot of things can be addressed if you stop making excuses for it. So I definitely understand that. I know that you were a model for Ford, which I think is a huge achievement. A lot of young ladies, they look up to that. That's their goal, that's their dream. What was that like, being a model for Ford? Are you still currently a model with Ford, or was that something that you did and you just kind of moved forward?
No,
from that?
I'm actually not on board. I still have production out there, like I'm still on packaging, but I'm not on board currently. But it was an interesting road. I wouldn't change it for anything. I would have included going to college with it, but no, it was. Honestly, I think it prepared me for this journey that I'm taking now with myself and my son. And even if I wasn't taking this journey, just for the path that I've given Amari, I think it's given me tools and opened my eyes to life in a much larger, wider scale at a very young age. I mean, I started 16, turning 17. So, for me it was, lessons learned, and you had to be picked apart at a very young age.
Right.
And, multi-million-dollar companies either vouching for you or hating you and tearing you apart and, asking you to leave kindly with a snotty look and, get out. So I think that, I think modeling definitely, prepared for what's to come. And I would say to any young girl who's out there wanting to do it, put your game face on, walk in there and own it. And no matter whether they like you or not, you own it, and that client who doesn't like you, that's fine. There's another client that will.
Definitely, definitely. That's actually kind of rolls into the next question. I was going to ask, do you have any younger advice that you would give to, anyone that's starting out or anyone that's, just struggling, even to the kids that are in the Chicago, that maybe aren't in the best neighborhoods. Do you have any like words of advice that you offer to them?
Well, I think like any job, it comes with requirements, right? So, there are certain protocol or, standards across the board that, in terms of measurements or attitudes walking in. I started in a day and age when, Cindy Crawford started her modeling career at Elite, and I started mine actually at Elite and went on to Ford. And, the one thing that the era just before her had left the diva era, and what made Cindy Crawford, a supermodel today is not only her grace and elegance, but just her kindness. And I think that, coming in as a model, just be humble, be pretty, be smart, be smiley and happy, and just be easy to work with. And I think that gets you much further than anything else. And again, if you don't get one job, hold your head high and you'll go on to the next job and you'll get other opportunities.
Definitely. That's some great advice. That's something that I think can apply even to young women who aren't, in the modeling industry. A lot of women, the younger generations, I should say, sometimes they need a little more encouragement than some of the older folks, even though they still need encouragement as well. Everyone needs encouragement, but I think it's important to encourage the next generation, because that's how you move things forward. In my opinion, that's how you move things from one generation to the next. You just encourage them to keep doing good and progress forward.
Absolutely.
Well, how difficult is it adjusting to the television show? I mean, is that something? I know you used to being in front of the camera as far as like modeling. Was it any difference in adjusting to being on the actual TV show? Like, is that any different for you, or does it just come natural? It looks like it comes natural.
Believe it or not, well, believe it or not, I'm a pretty private person. I've had pretty public things happen, but for the most part, I'm pretty private. So, to open my life and my home up to the world, was a task, but something that I thought was important for my son to experience, scrutiny and the different things that come along with reality television now. And I feel like it's nothing else. It's a quiz before the big test of his life, and going on to NCAA and hopefully his dream of the NBA one day. So I felt like if nothing, this is just good homework and good quizzes before the big test of his life. So I think I prepared him as much as I could mentally for it. I definitely assessed my children. I have a 2-year-old as well, but she's just she's a diva in the making herself. So, but no, I think I just prepared my family for what's to come, and for myself, at the end of the day, people either love me or they hate me. And it's about it. It's what it is. You take it or you leave it. That's that. So I think for me, it's just it was important for other mothers who could possibly be going through the same thing to open their eyes to hey, just different things that you experience. And I think it's important for the world to have an idea as to what happens as a basketball mother.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think it's a great experience. It's, it helps build a lot of character, a lot of personality. So I definitely agree with that. And I didn't know you had a baby as well. Congratulations. I have a 3-year-old. She drives me crazy.
Oh, thank you. They're fun at that age, aren't they?
Well, is that what it's called? Is that called fun?
Oh, yeah. And so they get older and you're like, oh my God, I wish they were 3 again.
Yeah, she's fun now, and I'm waiting. Like, I have a 7-year-old as well. I'm waiting for that age where it's like, where we can hang out, and we're like, okay, I don't have to tell you not to do this or to put something down. So I'm waiting on that. It's coming. Everyone keeps telling me it's coming, so it's coming. I'll kind of wrap things up. I don't want to hold you too long. What I like to do at the end of my interviews is I like to give people the opportunity to. The one thing I hate people walking away from something saying, "Oh, I wish I had said that," or "I wish I had asked her this," or "I wish I had mentioned this." Is there anything that you would like to say, just in general, any questions for me or any upcoming projects you may have outside of your show? anything that you just wanna put out there.
Well, I want everyone to know they definitely show, a few businesses of mine, but I do have a basketball campus called Superstar Basketball.
Okay.
You can find information on it April 1st. It'll be up on the website at superstarbasketball.com.
Okay.
It is a 5-week camp here in Chicago. It's a summer camp for both boys and girls, ages 6 to 14 in basketball.
Okay.
And no, that is said, I'm not, just a snotty mean girl. Everyone thinks I'm the snotty mean girl, but
no, you're not.
I'm very giving. I'm very loving, and I feel like I definitely come from a place of knowledge, not cattiness or pettiness. So.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes they tend to, twist things up or portray things one way on like social media or on television. That's why I try to stay away from all of that. I try to stay more positive because I don't feel like anyone is really a complete monster. Like, they're just people that are out there, and you're like, oh, no, I'd rather not deal with you. But I don't think that anyone is just really a bad person. I feel like you're very humble and you're very caring, and, that's the image that I'm seeing. That's what I'm getting from it. So I appreciate you taking out the time to speak with me.
I appreciate you taking the time with me as well.
Yes. And like I do, what I do normally is I type up the interview. I send it over. The last thing I want to do is misrepresent anyone. So I always send everything over for viewing. Once I get the okay, then everything goes out and get published. So if there's anything that maybe I misinterpreted or misunderstood, please correct me and let me know. Because like I said, I don't want to put anything out there that wasn't said or is that untrue. We got enough of that going on.
No, that's right. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Well, thank you for speaking with me. I do have a podcast coming up. I would love to have you back on the podcast. I'll definitely be in contact, hopefully, and then we can go from there. But I really enjoyed speaking with you.
Well, thank you very much, and have a great day.
All right, you as well. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
You there?
I'm here. Hi, Johanna.
Hi, Bonnie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good. Well, my name is Bunny, like you said. I just want to tell you a little bit about my blog before I go into it. It's called The Bunny Hole. I know it's a little provocative name, but it's not really anything provocative. And I try to focus mostly on positive vibes. It's a lot of negativity. It's a lot of gossip out there. And I try to stay away from that because there's not enough of a platform for the positive environment. It's enough negativity. So everything I may ask you is all it's all positive and all it's all good. There's nothing negative, no bad vibes or anything like that. And if it's anything you feel uncomfortable, you definitely don't have to answer. You're not obligated to answer anything. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. And I just want to congratulate you, first of all, on bringing up Ballers. I love the show. I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, you're very welcome. It's something that's new. It's exciting. It's different. It shows, it shows that environment in a different light. When you think of Chicago, you think of all the stuff that's going on, and you don't really tend to see what the people in Chicago are doing that's positive. As far as that's concerned, what are some of the things that encouraged you? Was it something that was it a casting for it, or was it something that was brought to you, or was it something that you came up with, like, hey, this is something that we need to focus on?
Well, I think a few of the girls felt as though what we go through just in day-to-day life, being mothers of basketball players, we figured we needed cameras rolling. So it actually started. A couple of other girls that aren't on the show, they were trying to pitch